Heartbreaking moments in MrBeasts. Challenges. You've watched the wins, but have you seen the losses? What if everything you worked for slipped away in an instant? Here are the stories that will leave you feeling every ounce of heartbreak. Starting off strong, we have heartbreak moment number 1, betrayal at what cost? This has got to be one of the most unexpected and unplanned moments of MrBeast challenges. Everyone was asked to group themselves into a group of 100 and stand on a podium, and no one was allowed to step off, as if anyone steps off any podium, it meant immediate disqualification for everyone else in the group. But standing on that podium was the easiest part. To make things interesting, money was placed in front of the players and 10 seconds allocated for someone to claim it. This was done to see if anyone will be enticed to step off and claim it, thereby disqualifying their teammate. Now, the first amount was $5,000. This didn't work as everyone remained on the podium booing and standing strong. It was then increased to $50,000. And behold, before the timer even started counting down, a lady from one of the podiums stepped off, sacrificing her teammates. The betrayal was bad enough already, but she also did not get the money as she stepped off before the countdown began. And just when you think the heartbreak couldn't get worse, the next story will prove you wrong. Heartbreaking moment number 2. Contestant who lost the million. Buy a second picture yourself in a challenge with the chance to win a life-changing sum of money, an incredible $1 million. Now imagine losing that prize by just 1 second. That exactly happened in one of MrBeast's most intense challenges. The challenge was simple, or it seemed. The last contestant to have their hand on the $1 million and will win, and otherwise will warrant an immediate loss. The contestants gave it their all, pushing themselves to the limit, knowing that the grand prize could change their lives forever. Wouldn't it change yours? They ran, jumped, strategized, and fought through exhaustion, holding on to the hope that they could be the lucky winner. One contestant seemed like they had it in the bag. They were ahead for most of the challenge, and it looked like victory was within reach. But in the final moments, the unthinkable happened. They miscalculated their timing by a single second and raised their hand just a few inches above the $1 million. The heartbreak on their face was undeniable. You could see the realization hit. They had worked so hard for so long, only to lose everything in the blink of an eye. This wasn't just a game for them. It was a chance to change their life, to pay off debts, or to help their family. Watching that dream disappear because of a tiny mistake was gut-wrenching. And while MrBeast is known for being generous, there are moments like these where not everyone gets a happy ending. Now, imagine getting disqualified from the biggest game of your life just because the other contestants think you're too loud. This next story will leave you wondering. Heartbreaking moment number 3. The Collins twins' dramatic elimination. The Collins twins were formidable competitors who dominated the early rounds, but their success made them targets. When the group vote challenge rolled around, the twins were voted out by their fellow competitors one by one, and it wasn't even close. 26 votes, which was an overwhelming majority. As the twins realized what was happening, shock gave way to resignation. "They're scared," one of them muttered, trying to hide the hurt. But it was clear that they had given it their all, only to be defeated by strategy. The atmosphere changed as soon as they left the cube. It became cooler and quieter. Once unstoppable, the twins were now just another heartbreaking memory of what might have been. But the heartbreak doesn't stop there. In the next story, players were disqualified for trusting their instincts. And yes, it's as frustrating as it sounds. Heartbreaking moment number 4. The sound of the horn. Now, this moment happened even before the challenge officially started. Talk about a rough start to the game. The players were locked in, ready to race for a flag that would secure their spot in the game. Then something unexpected happened. MrBeast handed the microphone to his friend, who suddenly shouted, "You," causing many players to start running instinctively without thinking. And that's when the heartbreak hit. Those who took off too early were immediately disqualified. Turns out the actual start was marked by the sound of the horn, not a random "yo." The air was filled with disbelief and frustration. Players who had psyched themselves up for the challenge now had to watch from the sidelines, knowing they didn't even get a fair shot. It was a brutal reminder to always stay focused, no matter the chaos around. And speaking of chaos, the next moment will show how a single misstep can turn a game into a nightmare. Heartbreaking moment number 5. Red light, green light finale. In the opening game, red light, green light. The tension was palpable. Contestants moved cautiously, inching their way forward with laser focus, determined to avoid being caught in motion. As the timer ticked down, dozens were eliminated for the smallest of errors. The most devastating moment, however, came in the final seconds. Several players were just a hair's breadth from the finish line, watching others celebrate their victory, only to be stopped cold by a single misstep on the last red light. The crushing disappointment was written all over their faces as their dreams of winning winning $456,000 were dashed in an instant. To make matters worse, some had played it safe the entire game, only to lose at the very last moment. Next, heartbreaking moment is heartbreaking moment number 6, Tug of War Chaos. Tug of War was meant to test both strength and strategy, but for many, it became a crushing moment of defeat. With the stakes sky high, teams were dragged closer to the platform's edge, fully aware that a single misstep could send them plummeting into the foam pit below. One team, brimming with confidence and unity, gave it their all. They pulled with unwavering determination, but in the decisive moment, they lost their balance and fell to defeat. The heartbreak was palpable as they saw their dreams slip away despite their relentless effort. Their faces of disbelief told the story, so close to staying in the game, only to be eliminated by the slimmest of margins. If you thought losing as a team was hard, the next moment shows how betrayal in a one-on-one battle can hurt even more. Heartbreaking moment number 7, the Marble Game Betrayal. The Marble Game delivered what was arguably the most emotional moment of the challenge. Contestants were paired with their closest allies, friends they had bonded with deeply throughout the competition. But then came the devastating twist. Only one partner could advance. In an instant, friendships turned into rivalries, and it was heartbreaking to watch allies face off, knowing the loser would be eliminated by someone they trusted. One pair stood out in particular. They had vowed never to betray each other. Yet, as the game unfolded, the brutal reality became impossible to ignore. In the end, one was forced to make the agonizing decision to eliminate his best friend. Tears filled their eyes as they said goodbye, a sobering reminder of how even the strongest bonds can be tested when victory is on the line. This next moment shows how even the smallest mistake can ruin everything. Heartbreaking moment number 8, the one that got out just by an inch. One of the most unexpected moments of the competition came from a contestant who made a bold decision to decline the $10,000 cash offer to quit the game. They endured over 18 grueling hours of standing and was determined to keep fighting for the ultimate prize. But fate had other plans. In a heartbreaking twist, this contestant's journey came to an abrupt end, not because of exhaustion or giving up, but due to a tiny misstep, a momentary lapse in focus that caused them to accidentally step over the line by just an inch without his realization. The disqualification was swift, and the realization hit hard. For this contestant, the regret of turning down $10,000 in exchange for significantly less compensation, coupled with a tiny error, made the loss even more crushing. Up next is heartbreaking moment number 9, the Narvaez twins' crushing defeat. When the Narvaez twins were picked by the Beatty twins as opponents, it felt like a surefire win for them. The first 2 rounds, total domination. The ball stayed in their control, and they built a solid lead. Confidence was high, and victory seemed within reach. But then came the final round, a twist no one saw coming. The Narvaez twins, who had been so consistent, only managed to knock down a single pin. Meanwhile, the Beatty twins pulled off an unbelievable comeback, turning the tables in a way that stunned everyone. In just one round, the dream slipped from the Narvaez twins' grasp, leaving the audience in shock and the twins utterly heartbroken. It's a moment that proves no lead is ever safe. Now imagine losing a game you thought you'd already won. That's what happens in the next story, and it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking moment number 10, the glass bridge. Imagine reaching the end of an intense, exhausting game, thinking you were safe only to find out otherwise. The game was the glass bridge challenge. Players had to choose between 2 platforms with each jump. One would hold their weight while the other would drop them. To win, they had to cross the entire bridge before the timer ran out. Initially, the players worked together, supporting each other along the way, but as the final moments approached, hesitation set in, and no one was willing to take the next step. With time running out, the clock ticked away. In the end, a few players successfully crossed the bridge, or so it seemed. However, it was later revealed that 4 players were still on the bridge when the timer hit 00. Despite making it across, they were disqualified, as the rules left no room for exceptions. It was a crushing blow for those who thought they had made it. From split-second decisions to unshakable bonds tested under pressure, these moments stay with us long after the games are over. It's the heartbreak that makes the victories all the more meaningful and the losses unforgettable. So, which moment hit you the hardest? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get more updates like this.